channel. Today we are covering something that just started up last night, and this could possibly be something that I'd like to see if Little Big Planet 4 were ever to exist, which it possibly might not be. However, this is a graph, and this over here is a graph. Now, there's something similar about these two, and it's about that they should have about the same kind of points in relation to each other. However, one of them is a step graph and one of them's just a normal plot graph with a line going through it. Now, what's the step graph supposed to resemble? Well, this. This is my power curve that I had made not too long ago, about a couple months. Has it just been months? I don't know. It's been a while since I've created this, about the same time as I made Little Big Leander Classics too. However, each of these points on the graph resembles the power at the RPMs of this car right here, Cadillac CTS, that I've been making on the restoration videos. So as the RPM goes on, that's how much power it is. Now, these aren't any horsepower figures at all. This is just the percentage of acceleration on the mover. Now, it's hard to get an exact of how much power the mover makes, as it can be a bit unpredictable. It's hard to just put a timer on it and give it a certain percentage of power and give it to actually perform like that. It's difficult. However, this obviously is supposed to show the percentage of the mover over the RPMs. So we see we have the RPMs down at the bottom versus the percentage that the mover performs at. So as you see, it goes like this. Now, it has some steep steps, and that is the whole point. It's hard to get a nice smooth curve like this with having movers like this, unless you had an incredibly long string that you were able to do that, which even that would be impossible just because you only have percentage steps. You don't have like 27.1% or something like that. You don't have that at all. However, you know, why am I not in preview? That's the whole point of this graph. It is nice and smooth, and it increases incrementally. Now, what is this proposing? Alright, so what if we got a new piece of logic that was just called graph, and you placed it, and it would open up to something that I have, well, I'll set it over here. It would open up, and you'd get a graph coordinate system like this. Heck, it could go in the negatives, it could even go negative underneath. Well, it would have to, though. And then you can set the parameters of it. And then you can set a power level for the Y or X coordinate, and then you could do something else in relationship to it. Now, that would have, I don't know, it might have one plugin. Might have two, but one of the plugins would be for positional, and that positional for us, well, at least from my standpoint here, would be the RPMs on the bottom here. So as the RPMs increase, the slider for the graph would go this way, and whatever the points that we have set up, that we could either set for, you could either set for the graph to have a step like this, or you can set various points on there and have a spline, which is basically what this line is that's curved, to go in between those points for adjustment of the power level. Now, and for our case, it probably just wouldn't be directly this, it'd probably be like a battery percentage level for the output for the mover. Well, and that would also have to add in throttle position as well. Just because the RPM's up that high doesn't mean the engine's going to be performing at what? 42% mover speed when there's no throttle given to it. That just won't perform right at all. I think I know what I was gonna say. What I was gonna say, I think, is this possible to make right now? Now, obviously, this graph right over here, this basically is what my logic has at the moment. However, is this nice and even spline curve possible? Most likely not, but is there a possibility that with all sorts of timers and ANDs and OR gates, if that would be possible to make one? I want to say yes, but I definitely don't want to say no. Here's why. So using timers and stuff, I was able to make an adjustable gears. I thought that was absolutely impossible, but I managed to do it. Now, could I do something like this? Possibly. Do I want to? No. Because I feel like that would just be a lot of research, and a lot of time to try and stuff. That would just go wasted. Now, probably just because I just feel like I can't do it. Now, usually on this channel, I'm either praised for the detail of the cars or the detail of the logic. And even me, I don't think I can do the logic for this. Is there someone on Little Big Planet that possibly could? Yeah, they don't need to know cars, they just need to know logic in this game. Now, I do know logic, but probably not to this standpoint, my god. That's a lot. But if Little Big Planet 4 come out, it would be nice if we could have some I can't really call it graph logic, because logic is specifically and or not, timer, all that stuff. Now, if Dreams could have a graph, medium uncle, please, if you're watching this, which I'm probably not, please add a graph. That would make it so much nicer. And obviously this would be the top out. Well, it'd be more about here. Because here's the thing with this. Say you're driving, and you're coming up to your top speed, so the car's going to be very struggling to accelerate. You go, oh, shift second, third, fourth. Now you go into fifth. The RPM goes all the way down here. Even possibly not. Now the car is struggling to accelerate, going very, very slowly up. And you're coming close to the end of the wall. And let's say, at least in my case, you hit a whole new RPM. And there's a whole new power gap. There's a whole new power gap there. Well, then the car all of a sudden starts accelerating rapidly now just because you hit a higher percentage of power. That's the problem with this. I also tried making the aerodynamics with this, and holy cow, would that be troublesome. Because then it would just be accelerating, and then when it would get to a certain speed, it would just stop accelerating just because the newest percentage on the mover would be at a much higher thing than the other, so the speed would just stop. So a lot of cars, well, this specifically would be for the LBP Americana cars. Those had that, so some of those probably had the exact same top speed as a lot of other cars just because of the aerodynamics model that I had, which obviously wasn't good. Now obviously with this graph over here, if you were to plug a mover, plug something into a mover and set it to signal strength. Now yes, obviously it's going to create a graph like this, but is it going to spline like this and hit multiple points, dip and stuff and increase? Not without a graph, or at least some intense logic. But yeah, it would go in that way. It would probably start at 0 for if you set it practically to off, but then you'd have to have it up here for a bit. And then it would most likely just go in a straight line. However, it would at least be an increasing in strength over a time. Alrighty. This is about all I can really rant. Well, it's not rant about, but at least inform you about. Yeah. Oh, now I remember what I was talking about with the 2-wire system. So you'd have a wire for, an input in the graph for the x-axis, and then one for the y-axis. If you wanted to get, so say that if you wanted to have something that controls the x and the y-axis, so that means it wouldn't be so much like this, but it would be one of these. Whoops, I don't want that, I want the dot. Yeah. So if you had something that can both wires plugged in, one controlling the x-axis and the y-axis, if the x-axis only got the power, that means that this dot would only go across the x-axis in the positive and negative direction. Same goes for the y-axis. It would just stay on the y-axis and go up and down, because the y-axis is not getting anything. However, if only one of them is plugged in, and there was a certain... Yeah, if only one was no. If both were getting the power, depending on percentages for positional, then the dot would move upward. So if it was only one out of 6 on the x-axis, and then 40 out of 55 on the y-axis, it would go up to here. If it was 3 on the x-axis out of 6, so half, well, technically out of 7, 3 out of 7. On the x-axis and only 20 on the y-axis, then it goes here. Now, if you only have one of them plugged in, then it could go across the spline or something like this. So this would be the x-axis being plugged in only, and it could go across like this. And then if the y-axis was plugged in, not big enough, then it would go up like this. Hopefully catch my my drift on that. It's a little hard to explain, I guess, even possibly for me. Oh no, I probably explain it. I know it because I'm explaining it. However, for you, maybe not so much, but this is open up for ideas, obviously. Alrighty, that's about all I got for right now. This is Leander98, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe if you are new for more Little Big Planet car content. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye. Oh no, that's reverse.